I'm Sinead McLarty, and this is SEO in 2025.
Sinead, what's your number one SEO tip for 2025?
So my tip is find ways to look beyond what tools show you. Sometimes you have to use manual methods in order to stand out.
So what would be maybe some examples of not getting enough information from tools?
In my line of work, I'm in digital PR. Sometimes when I'm using things like media databases, they don't always show you the full scope of relevant contacts that are available to you. And sometimes in like the complete other direction, they'll show you loads of relevant contacts or contacts that from their job description look like they're relevant. And it's a bit of a data overwhelm situation. But then there are also some things like there are sometimes links that get missed off of backlink tools because they haven't been indexed yet. Or if you're looking for relevant articles to include as part of your outreach or to get information from, sometimes you won't get the full extent of how many articles are available on that subject via a straight Google search. I'm sure there are many more examples, but those are the ones that come to mind for me specifically.
So let's focus on your first example there as well, and the media database is not showing necessarily the most relevant contacts. So how do you first of all determine that they aren't the most relevant contacts? And then how do you go about finding the right ones?
Sure. So you can determine that by methods of like looking at the job description, which is included. For example, if you have only a couple of contacts listed for that particular publication, and it's like the director and someone who is in admin, they might not be the best people for you to reach out to. Other ways that you can find that out is through trial and error. It is the less straightforward version, but you might reach out to someone who this database says is, for instance, a lifestyle editor and find that that person has moved into a different section of the company, or they might have even left the company completely, and then you find that you don't have anybody to contact. So a variety of different ways.
Can you use software to either augment your list or double check that your list is relevant and up to date?
Sure. You can, there are various email checkers which you can use in order to make sure that the email address is actually an active email address. You can cross-reference across different databases to check if the same contact appears on different databases. However, I find it to be quite difficult, especially if you're working on a campaign where you're trying to send your information to several different people within different publications, sometimes to just pinpoint those ones which aren't specifically working.
Understood. Okay. And as an aside, I heard you say that obviously you can get multiple contacts within a single organization. In terms of outreach, is it ever good practice to reach out to multiple people from the same organization, or do you just want to stick to the one ultimate individual?
I personally think that emailing a couple of people from the same organization, but keeping the numbers quite low. You don't want to basically bombard the entire lifestyle department of one particular publication with your press release. And so it's really important to determine which contacts are the best ones to send your press release to, because again, I think inundating a load of people works against you. But I also do think that having a couple of contacts makes sure that even if your first choice isn't the perfect person, then your second choice, you have a little bit of a better chance by having a second choice as well.
And if you're reaching out to two people, would you send them separate emails with the same content in there, or would you actually incorporate them both in the same email and both their first names at the beginning of the email as well?
So I would send them two separate emails, especially if when looking for whichever contact there is, that if you have done some more manual searches and found that they have specifically written on a very similar topic, making sure that when you are reaching out to them, you address the fact that, look, I see that you have covered something really similar to this, but it's not quite what I'm offering you, and here's why I think it would be useful, making sure that it is a little bit more personalized rather than just straight sending the exact same email with the exact same information in.
Understood. And you also talked at the beginning about other software. I think you said backlink tools, not necessarily including all the information about the backlinks to a domain. How do you know that it doesn't actually contain all the information, and what's your process there for actually researching and finding more backlinks?
So when I say that, I'm specifically talking about syndicated coverage. Now, because syndicated coverage appears the same across a media group, not all of it gets indexed because in Google's eyes, it's the exact same content. It doesn't want to regurgitate the same thing over and over again to its users. However, especially when trying to assess where some of your traffic is coming from, it can be useful to see that syndicated coverage. Like, for example, we have reached out to sites which are predominantly in the UK, but then also have US parts of their publications. So if you were to be getting US traffic, but because it's extensively covered in the UK and because you're in the UK, that's not being shown to you, you can be like, okay, let's see if it's being included in the US publication, and using like manual searches, search all of the sites within that media group and then determine, okay, we're getting US traffic. It's probably because it's coming from this particular link, and then looking at the traffic of that link, for example, to determine whether there is like an active audience in the US. And even if your company or the company that you're working on behalf of is predominantly UK based, you can then go, this product actually does quite or has interest in the US as well, which is why you're getting that traffic. And it's through this particular link that we've established this.
And would you use a proxy to mimic the fact that you're also viewing the web from the States, to make it more likely that you're going to see what the US audience sees?
Yes, you can do, but for me anyway, in my digital PR role, it's good to first of all establish that that link is there, and you don't necessarily need to do that for all US sites. A lot of US sites, if you click on it from the UK, if it doesn't have like a UK rather alternative that will boot you straight back to the UK version, it will just send you to the US version and you can view it. Sometimes you do have to use like a VPN in order to view it, but for the most part, I find we quite often can just see it by identifying what the link is and then just going onto that site.
And you also say that Google doesn't always show you all the relevant stories from a straight search. Is this what you're referring to by that?
Yes and no. I mean, sometimes for example, around the Christmas period, I might want to have a look for last year's 2023's Christmas gift guides, and then look for the authors of those particular gift guides to reach out to them again in 2024. Basically say, if you're doing a similar article this year, I've got this product which might be of interest to you. Sometimes you find the same gift guides being shown to you, or different variations of a gift guide from the same publications being shown to you over and over and over again. And whilst those journalists might be helpful to you, I think it is also quite useful and better in terms of SEO if you can find a wide range of different publications who might have interest in your product. Always has to be relevant, of course, but from a straight Google search, you might not be able to identify those.
I guess the challenges, or one of the challenges, you want to be as efficient as possible with the way that you operate, and you want to automate as many things as possible, but you also want to deliver as high a quality service and piece of content if that's what you're producing. How do you know where to draw the line between automation and getting involved as an individual?
I think that's something that comes with time, if I'm honest. Like, I think the further along you go with campaigns, the more that you exhaust your options in terms of what is offered by like automated means. So I would say start with automation. And if you find that automation isn't working as well for you, then move your focus onto manual stuff. And I think also that there is this correct but not fully assumption that if you try and use manual methods, there is no way to make that a faster, more effective process. Like the syndication thing that I was just talking about, I think there is an assumption that if you want to find your syndicated coverage, you have to do a ton of individual Google searches, but it might just be the case of finding all of the publications within the media group and then looking at the end of the URL of one piece of coverage that you have found, sticking that onto the end of the domain, like through a tool like MergeWords, pushing those two together, and then just creating this list of potential URLs and checking those through. So that, in a way, it does take a little bit of time, but it's a lot faster than you would think because there is a method to doing it.
Can you not maybe use AI to assist you or make you more efficient with these activities?
Funnily enough, when trying to use AI, I think that it does have some successes, but it's not perfect. It doesn't necessarily find everything that I'm looking for. And I think also with using AI, I don't think it's a very controversial take for me to say that whilst AI is making some great progress and is making a lot of things more easy, it's not perfect yet. I think it's still very much in a working things out stage. And in order for us to continue like working and making sure that we're basically getting all of the information that we need, I think we have to, in some cases, continue on with methods that we're using, take full advantage of manual methods that we have, and just give AI a little bit of time to catch up to what it is that we want it to do.
Are clients quite comfortable with more time spent on manual work? Do clients not expect everything to be automated or using AI nowadays?
I think that clients are happy for you to spend more time on manually searching things if it yields them better results. So, like one of the things I sometimes do more manually is I use advanced operators, for example, to search a site author pages for lifestyle authors. Now, you can just use a database, but it doesn't necessarily show you who has written lifestyle content recently, and it doesn't show you the full extent of what it is that they cover within the lifestyle niche. So, for example, if I wanted, going back to that gift guide example, that would fall within lifestyle, but there's also people who write reviews on things like, I don't know, dog beds, who might not be useful to.
I love these random examples that everyone comes up with. Everyone has a different favorite random example. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, for that dog bed example, they might not be the lifestyle writer that I'm looking for because they're mainly working within pet niche stuff. So if I were to send that particular author my gift guide, that wouldn't be very useful to them, and then they would bypass it completely. So taking that extra little bit of time to make sure that the lifestyle writer that I am writing to is a lifestyle writer that covers gift guides, even though it is a manual process and it does take a little bit more time, it does ensure that the percentage open rate for my campaign is higher. And it also means that at the end of the day, even if I don't establish, or this campaign that I sent at this period of time doesn't get featured, it means that at least I know there is more of a chance, if not now, then in the future, that if I reach out to this person again, that what I'm covering is going to be right for them and then they'll actually pick it up. So long answer short, I think clients are happy for me to spend a little bit more time in the prospecting stage of things, doing things a bit more manually, if it means that they're done more effectively and will drive greater success and basically get them their bottom line, which is more users to the site and more revenue to the company.
If an SEO is struggling for time, what should they stop doing right now so they can spend more time doing what you suggest in 2025?
In my opinion, I think going through media databases with very wide search terms, if you don't necessarily know where to start, I think you shouldn't opt directly for going for media databases, because one thing that I find really overwhelming is just having a ton of contacts and not knowing where to start. So if an SEO is struggling with a campaign and struggling for time, I would suggest looking more manually and more nichely in order to get a better handle of the niche itself, and not to waste time trying to figure out of a list of thousands and thousands of contacts, which is the couple of people that they can pull from it. Start small and build out rather than starting big, getting overwhelmed, spending loads of time and trying to niche down.
Sinead McLarty is a digital PR specialist, and you can find her over at seeker.digital. Sinead, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2025.
Thank you for having me.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2025, the book, over at SEOin2025.com.